Selam, hoş geldiniz, welcome. My name is Kaylee, I'm an American living in Turkey, and this is my first Q&A. Oh gosh, I'm nervous. My first question is, do I have any tips on learning Turkish? I'm a lot better with my Turkish like out on the streets and with people than I am online, because trying to speak Turkish to a camera is trying to speak Turkish to myself, and that's hard. Ne kadar zor ya. Tips that I have on learning Turkish are tips that I don't even necessarily follow because, I need to be better. 1, immerse yourself. Put yourself into environments where you really rely heavily on the second language instead of English. Every time I visit my in-laws, my Turkish grandparents, everyone in my family, they don't speak English. So I love visiting them in part because it requires my brain to think in Turkish. That's what immersion does. It puts you into an environment where you're not translating, you're immersed into it. 2, podcasts. I love listening to Turkish podcasts because then you hear actual conversational flow in like a really organic way. And in fact, my friend Gökçe has started a podcast. She has episodes in English and Turkish. It is called Synapsis. It's here on YouTube, it's on Spotify, and she talks about neuroscience and other deep science dives in Turkish and English. So quick plug, go check out my friend Gökçe's podcast. It is down in the description below. Arkadaş bulmakta zorlandın mı? Sosyal çevreni nasıl oluşturdun? It is hard to find friends. Yes, what this question is asking, is it hard to find friends, basically. It is hard to find friends, and you have to really put yourself out there to do that. A couple of tips that I have are actually in this video here. That video will really deep dive, and I will say it's hard to find friends and it requires a lot of energy and effort. So yes. And even the most introverted of us have to have some form of community. So yes. This question is, now that you have been there, when you come back to the States, do you miss America or can you not wait to get back to Turkiye, and why? I have only had the opportunity to go back home one time in the last almost 3.5 years that I've been here, and I will say that it opened up a huge box of just mixed feelings. When I went back to the United States last summer, I was so homesick. I was so ready to go back. I wanted to be in my culture. I wanted to be around my people. I wanted to be out of the big city and in a place where there's no traffic and I can drive and all this stuff. But while I was there, I really realized how much I love my life here. And I don't love my life here because of the amenities of Ankara, because of anything external like that. I love my life here because of what I have made my life into. I have a lot of people. That's it. I have a lot of people. I have such a community. If you're an expat and you never really dig roots down and invest in your life being in that place, if you see yourself as an expat all the time, I think you will not have that same sense of home and you'll miss your home country a lot more. I don't find myself missing my home country nearly as much anymore now that I've had a chance to go back. Okay, that was such a long answer. Let me just right through this. Melissa, I love Melissa. She comments all the time. Melissa would like to know about cultural differences that I've encountered when interacting with my husband's family versus my American family. You know what? The most intense difference is the degree of affection. My Turkish in-laws are so affectionate. Like, everybody hugs me and kisses me and pinches my cheeks and calls me all kinds of pet names like canım, bir tanem, çiçeğim. And then my American family, when my husband met so many of them, and I mean more extended family, but it was, hey, how you doing? Da 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 da. There was no hugging, there wasn't all of this affection. The difference in affection is really interesting and intense, and it actually caused me to crave more affection from my American family and to be so surprised to be received so coldly, because I don't think I would have considered it to be cold until I was here. And now when I go over there, I'm like, oh, where are the gushings of love and the hugs? It doesn't really exist. Do you regret ending up in Ankara? If yes, do you consider seeking a way out with your partner? I had commented back to him and said, this is such a good question. It is super easy as someone living in Ankara to wish that you lived somewhere else. And that's kind of like a running joke in the local community that Ankara is like the least of the large cities in Turkey to be in, the least exciting, the least beautiful, the least this. That's true. But it kind of goes back to what I said earlier, that I just have so many people that I love that, like, if I left Ankara and went to Istanbul or Antalya, Alanya, if I go to any other city, I'm leaving my people. And man, I'm such a people person. So actually right now, I'm okay, I'm good. The only things about Ankara that are very difficult for me is the really intense population and the very intense like sound pollution and noise pollution and straight up pollution. Basically, the negatives that you get when you live in a gigantic city are the things that I struggle about with Ankara, more so than anything. Elif says she's so excited for the channel. Aha! What was the biggest obstacle while moving to a foreign country and how did you overcome it? Okay, I think I have an answer. Okay, so I am a very community-oriented person and I do coaching as my like main source of income, main career. And that requires you to be very integrated into your community. So I was integrated into my community before I came here. And I was part of my Rotary Club, I was joining an entrepreneurial club, I had an office space and a chiropractic clinic, I was doing a lot of things. And so the hardest part was looking at everything I built and realizing it was time to uproot it. And so I actually closed out with all of my clients. I sold all of my things. I sold my car, I sold everything, and I closed everything. And I really uprooted myself and came here and needed to reroot. And that took a lot of time because everything I had built in the United States was done by my own abilities, my own actions, my own commitment, my own determination. And I could not do the same thing here right away. I could not land in Turkey as a foreigner on a 3-month visa, walk out my door and know how to get grounded into the community, rooted into the community, and start doing the work that I was doing in the United States. There was just no way. I overcame that by recognizing I couldn't do it the same way and I needed to do it a different way, which was by getting active on TikTok. I actually pressed into social media to overcome this really intense lack of community, lack of like direction and purpose and drive because I was like, scrambling. I really focused on finding the community that I couldn't see and instead I knew was online, and I trusted the process. I started that 3 years ago, guys, and now here we are. I've got 75,000 friends on TikTok and different thousands in different places, and I'm doing the things that I desire to do, and a lot of you know about my networking group that I'm growing here in Ankara. That's a thing. So I'm doing so many things, and that's always what I wanted to do, but I had to completely uproot and start over and do a completely new process, and that was hard. That was really hard. Oh, it was so hard. Deniz wants to know some tips and tricks to deal with loneliness and isolation that one feels when they're living in a foreign country. Again, I actually have a video completely about this. If you go to that video, how to make friends as a foreigner living in another country, that video is gonna deep dive into topics of how do we make friends, obviously, and how do we overcome isolation, how do we learn how to have more patience for ourselves and grace for ourselves and celebrate the small victories that we achieve as foreigners that don't mean anything in our native countries, and all of that. So that video. Abru wants to know something about daily routine changes. If I change my routine after moving to Turkey, i.e. public transportation rather than drive everywhere, etc. Girl, one of the hardest routine changes for me has been that in the United States, I got outside every single day. I was a trail runner, I did mild hiking, I went on long, long walks where you're just completely immersed in trees. I feel so uncomfortable doing that here sometimes because first of all, the sidewalks are not really suited for just long strolling walks, and the park near me is very, very small, so you end up just doing tight little loops. And also, you guys know, those of you who live here, there's dogs outside. There's dogs, there's pollution, there's people, there's taxis, there's dolmuşes, there's things, there's so much happening. If I walk outside of my house at 8 o'clock in the morning to go for a walk, I live on a very main, busy road. I'm immediately met with car exhaustion and honking and yelling and angry faces, and it's so overstimulating to my nervous system that I feel like it doesn't even give me, even if I go do the walk, it doesn't serve me the same way walking did in the States. This is something I've really struggled with, because how do I overcome that? So I bought a treadmill. What were the biggest culture shocks for you? Turkish culture is very different from American culture. You know what? I'm just gonna be honest, okay? The biggest culture shock for me here is how stressed out everybody is. Now, I know that the economy here is stressful. I know that school is stressful. I know that work is stressful. I know that things are stressful. So I feel like if I talk about this on my TikTok, people get really defensive with me and really angry with me quickly, because they're like, there's reasons to be stressed. I know. But the amount of reaction that we have to things should not supersede the stress of the thing. Otherwise, we're gonna just like put ourselves through torment. We put ourselves through torture by being so stressed out. And in the Turkish culture, I find, this is my observation, things go 0 to 100 fast. People are mad about things so fast, angry about things so fast, nervous, anxious, worked up, fussing, stressed, everything so fast. It's so intense. It's just like little explosions of energy. This causes me a lot of shock. And the reason I use the word shock is because like it literally shocks my system. I don't know how to engage with it. I don't know how to talk with my Turkish loved ones when the stress is this big. And in my culture, we have a really I'm from the Midwest of the United States. So that's a whole different, we have different cultures in different places. But I do think in general, American culture and in my Midwestern culture, we have a very go with the flow, it is what it is, no use getting worked up about it type of mentality. So to spend that much energy getting that upset so easily to then just let it go, it shocks me. I have mentioned in other videos that we don't have to like every part of a culture to love the people of the culture. These things can happen at the same time. Lucy would like to know how easy it is to find a job as potentially a predominantly English speaker, especially in a city that's not so touristy. I work for myself and I work from home, so I don't know. I think in a lot of jobs, companies are going to hire a Turk before they're going to hire a foreign person. However, the most in-demand job of predominantly English-speaking foreigners is teaching English. So if you become a certified English teacher, you get a TESOL certificate, things like this, you can find a job pretty fast, I think. But other than that, I really just don't know. The job market's very intense in Turkey, and just coming here trying to find work may not be the easiest thing to do. Oh my gosh, that was my last question. These are some of the questions that were on my comment section for my TikTok video. If you have any more, please ask them. I would love to do this again. This was so fun. My name is Kaylee. Please subscribe, please drop a comment, please give me a like, anything to support my channel. I appreciate it so much. If you don't want to, don't feel pressured. All is good, all is fine. Thanks for watching this video and stopping by.